Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Estrella virtual visit series. I'm Allison Campbell with Estrella Consulting, and I'm so excited to welcome Ricki Janis from Baldwin Wallace University in Berea, Ohio. Our virtual visit series is designed to introduce you to a variety of colleges and allow for us to get to know the institutions and their staff in a more personal way. Thank you, Ricki, for joining us. And do you mind taking a few moments to tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've worked at Baldwin Wallace?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. Like you said, my name's Ricki Janis. I am one of our assistant directors of admission here at BW. I have been here for 3 years, a little over 3 years. I started as an admission counselor in 2021, and then I was promoted to assistant director in 2023. My undergrad is from Cleveland State University, but my master's is from BW. So I do have experience in the classroom here as well.
That's awesome. I mean, most of obviously my Estrella colleagues know this and the students that work with me, but I'm a proud Baldwin Wallace alum. So I'm so excited that I have the opportunity to speak with you and, really highlight some of the things that make BW wonderful. I used to be an employee of BW as well, and I was sitting probably in that same seat. I don't know if we had the same office, but worked on the admission side at Baldwin Wallace as well. So have a pretty good understanding of, the type of student that BW is looking for, the vibe of Baldwin Wallace. And I know that it's changing in a more positive way. So hopefully we'll get to the heart of that matter here in a few minutes. So can you just tell everybody who doesn't know about BW, where are you located? What's your enrollment looking like? The type of institution you are, or really anything that's really specific to BW that you think would be worth sharing?
Yeah, absolutely. We are located in Berea, Ohio. So about 20 minutes from downtown Cleveland, 7 minutes from the Cleveland airport, located on the west side. We currently have an enrollment of about it ranges between 3,000 and 3,300 undergraduates, depending on the number of students that we bring in our first year class. Our first year class that we brought in this fall was 700 students on the dot. So that is our biggest class since 2019, which is awesome. The year before that, we brought in our biggest class since 2015. So enrollment is trending in a good direction, which is exciting to us. But it's also important to us that we keep our class sizes small since we are a small, medium-sized institution. It's important to us that students get kind of that small classroom experience, that one-on-one time with their professors. Your professor knows not just your name, but they know what you're majoring in and what you're involved in and things like that. So our average class size is 19, and then our student to faculty ratio is 11-1. So for every 11 students, there's one faculty member, and that's something that's important to us as well. We have about 70 majors, and they range all different areas. We have a lot of students that are interested in business. We have students in the performing arts. We have sciences. We have kind of a little bit of everything, which makes it so that our ideal student is really anyone. I think that's something I really love about BW, is that there's something for everyone. It's not just students who are interested in science or just students who are interested in the performing arts or anything like that. So that is something that I love about BW, and I think that makes us unique as well. That we're very, I hate to brag, but I think we're very well-rounded in the students that we're looking for, and just as an institution. We are a 4-year private liberal arts school.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely be touching on the Conservatory of Music. It's nationally renowned, but that's definitely not all that BW is known for. And you're right, there are so many options for students academically, extracurricularly, and you have a really good ability at BW to have a major and a double major, or a major and a minor, and they don't always have to be co-aligning. You can have something that you're more passionate about from a professional standpoint, and then maybe something you love, just like maybe just like a passion project, or something that you think, like, I've always been really good at art, or I've been interested in history or geography or whatever it is. You can pair that with whatever your practical major might be. And definitely if I start stepping on your toes and start answering my own questions, you can be like, hey, cool it. I'm giving the presentation here. So you mentioned, this type of student that you're looking for is typically, like, it's really for anybody, but from like a profile standpoint, can you tell me of maybe just what the demographic looks like for your incoming freshman class, or like the type of student that you think would be attracted to BW?
Yeah. So our average, and I was pulling it up right now so I can pull the direct numbers. Our students, class of 2028 profile, our average GPA is incoming is a 3.88. We have students kind of from across the US. About a quarter of our students come from out of state, which is really cool. We get, like you mentioned, the Conservatory of Performing Arts. We get a lot of students from Texas, California, the Southwest, like kind of all over the place, coming to BW. So that's nice that it's not just students from Ohio, but we also do get a lot of students from Ohio. So our top states outside of Ohio are Pennsylvania, Michigan, Texas, and I'm thinking of one other. Why can't I think of
Like
Indiana? We get a
Western New
lot of
York.
students from Indiana.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Yes, we get a ton of students from New York as well. So
Yeah.
there are students from kind of all over the place. So that's nice. We are very busy on the weekends. There's a lot to be involved in. So having that kind of out of state population, and then 83% of our first years live on campus. So there's a lot to do. About 2/3 to 75% of our students live on campus throughout their time here at BW,
Okay.
but there's an even bigger first year population. So there's a lot to do. Our average ACT score, we are test free, but for students that submit their ACT score, it is between a 21 and a 26 is our average. So that gives you an idea. If you took the test and you want to send us your score, you can, but that's just to give an idea of what the average kind of is.
Okay.
Any other stats that you want to know?
You're talking a little bit about housing on campus, and that you said, the 83% of students are on campus, and then the option to have, you said about 2/3 to 70% stay all 4 years. Is there a residency requirement?
Yeah, so for students that are further than 30 miles from the university, they have to stay on campus for their first 3 years. We do guarantee housing for all four if you want to stay on campus for all four. But since our campus is extremely residential, sometimes students want to move off campus their fourth year, but that could be a house down the street from campus. It could be just as close as your residence hall. But it is nice that we guarantee that housing for all 4 years if you want to stay on campus.
Yeah, and what's beautiful about BW and Berea in itself, like you would mention, it's 7 minutes from the Cleveland airport. So if you are a student that's coming from out of town, out of state, you literally are less than 10 minutes away from the airport. You can get accommodation to and from if necessary. But Berea is definitely a suburb. I mean, you have the access 20 minutes to downtown Cleveland. So for internships, professional sports, concerts, the arts, like that is super accessible. But Berea is very much like a quaint suburb. And what Ricki was saying with the housing, I mean, a lot of students would end up moving off campus, but it's literally a house that like the backyard is next to the math and science building, or the backyard or the front yard, you could walk off the porch across the street and you're at the business building. So how the housing is set up for off campus is like you don't even need a car. You wouldn't even need a car for 4 years.
Right.
So thank you for explaining that. You mentioned that you were test free, and obviously that meaning that like you don't even have to submit a test, you don't have to take the test, that's fine. But if you were to maybe be interested in scholarship at BW, say you get into BW, would it be advantageous to submit a score if you had it in order to like achieve the highest amount of scholarship opportunity, or again, does that not really matter?
Great question. So 100% of our admitted students receive a merit scholarship, and that is just based on your cumulative weighted high school GPA. So it ranges between 14,000 and 21,000. 14,000 is if you have below a 3.0, and then that 21,000, that's the highest. That is if you have over a 3.9 or higher. So that is, again, just dependent on the weighted cumulative GPA. We don't require test scores for admission or scholarship purposes.
Okay.
The only reason you would want a test score for a scholarship is that if it's a scholarship not from BW. So none of ours require them. But like if your high school requires an ACT or SAT score for a scholarship, then you would want to do it. But for ours, it's just based on that GPA.
What about like placement into classes, or yeah, or like maybe I don't know if maybe BW has any selective programs that require, oh, you need to have a 22
Great
minimum to get
questions.
into a science or something like that.
Yeah, we don't currently require a test score for any of our undergrad majors. If you took the test and you love your score and it's in our average or higher than our average or anything like that, then you might want to. But we don't require it for like our engineering. We don't currently require it for like our engineering program or our nursing program. So yeah, it's nice. You can use it for a placement, even if you don't use it for admission purposes. You can use it for a placement into a math and English class.
Okay.
If that's what most of our students end up using it for.
Okay.
But if you haven't taken a test in the state of Ohio, like a test is provided for you. So most students take one, but
Okay. I'll just put that there. Then the test score is helpful for placement, but it really
yeah.
doesn't have any help whatsoever with admission or with scholarship. Okay, perfect. Are you seeing any types of trends at BW in regards to the students that you're recruiting? Like, are you seeing that we're drawing a lot of students from the South, or are you drawing a particular major? Like, is there some major that everybody's like, ooh, I really want to come to BW for that? Like, and if not, no big deal, but just curious.
Yeah, we have, like I mentioned, when it comes to our Conservatory of Performing Arts, we really get students from across the country for that, especially our music theater program, because it is very, very popular, very competitive, very highly renowned. So that's something that's kind of awesome that we get students from all over the US that are flying in for their auditions and things like that, and then ultimately choosing BW. Our most popular majors currently, the newest standings, top major is sport management. That's a program that's very, very popular because of our connections with Cleveland sports teams, I would say. I think that's the biggest draw is one of our professors currently works with the Cleveland Guardian, so he helps students with that. They're also very well connected, which we had a meeting with them a couple weeks ago, and I was like really excited about it because I have no interest in sport, but they have so many good connections and so many things that they do throughout the year. So they always send students to the Super Bowl. They had a few students that went to the Paris Olympics. They always have students that go to the Kentucky Derby and Formula One races and things like that. So you get not only do you get, if you stay in Cleveland for your internship with the Browns or something, you not only get that experience, but you get experience outside of Cleveland as well. So that's something that's really nice for students that, you know, didn't want to go super far for college, but they want to do that for their internship. So that's something that I always think it's funny because students that are interested in sport, like obviously would be excited about that. But for someone who has no interest in sport to be that excited, I think it's really special. Our second most popular major is biology, and our third most popular is business administration. So that kind of rounds out the top three, which is nice because there are two business programs, science, biology is really popular, and they have a freshman seminar that they do as well. So students, because a lot of students coming out of high school are like, okay, I want to do biology because I want to be a doctor. But there are
Mhm.
so many different things that you can do in biology, which I think really is helpful to a lot of different types of students too. So having that seminar is cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I got super excited because I was a sport management major at Baldwin Wallace, so I can attest to, the proximity of being so close to downtown Cleveland, the connectedness of the program. We actually did a blog. We haven't released it yet, but it's all about colleges that have premier internship experiences, like partnerships essentially with professional sports. I don't know that BW has one. I need to actually, maybe I'll reach out and find more out about that. But like there are specific colleges that they pipe the interns into the New England Patriots or the Philadelphia Eagles, or now locally to us, it's Akron and the Cleveland Browns.
Mhm.
But the Cleveland Browns actually practice in Berea.
Yeah.
So that
When I
is
saw that news, I was a little surprised because I was like, we're right here.
I know, I know. I feel like the athletic training majors at BW get a lot of exposure with the Browns, like having that
Mhm.
opportunity to be up at the practice facility and doing those types of hands-on experiences. So we also had, we do, typically we try to do it every month. We call it Star Paths with Estrella because Estrella actually means star in Portuguese, but our Star Paths highlights a niche or unique career path that someone has taken. And we had Monica Gustin, who's a BW alum. She was during March, I believe. I think it was Women in Athletics Month also, but she's the like executive VP of the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission. And she was in charge of bringing the women's Final Four to Cleveland.
That's so cool.
So kind of a big deal. She did our Star Paths. It was awesome. It was like one of our best attended ones. And she was just speaking to like the ways that Baldwin Wallace's sport management program really prepared her. And just really the internships being such a huge piece of that because you don't know what you don't know. And, you think because you played sports all of your life, you're going to love sport management. That's a lot of how I felt like my life had always been sports growing up. And I thought, oh yeah, this would be an easy segue, but the hours are long. I mean, think of when sporting events are. You are there to set up early in the day. You're there all evening long. You're there late into the night. You have to tear everything down. I mean, there's just a lot that goes into, especially like professional or collegiate sports. So she was wonderful. So I want to segue into this because she spoke so highly of the internship opportunities at BW. Does BW still have the required experiential learning requirement?
Yeah, so we do require that students do at least one experiential learning opportunity throughout their 4 years here, but there are three different options to do it. So internships are our most popular option. Most of our students are doing at least one before they graduate. Most students are doing two or three, kind of depending on what major and what they want to do. But some majors they are required, some they're just highly encouraged. So that's the most popular option. But then research is a second option for experiential learning. So we have students across all majors that are doing research. It's not just like the sciences that are doing research. Our political science students do a lot of different polling research. Like they've done some national polls, which is really, really awesome as a college student. But we do a day called Ovation every spring where all of the research is presented to our students are presenting their research to kind of the community, the campus community. It's always fun. Classes are canceled that day. So even if you're not a student interested in research yourself, it's nice to go support your classmates and your other friends. So that's second option. And then our third option for experiential learning is study abroad. So we have about 40% of our students that are studying abroad in their time at BW. There's a group that does the kind of independent study where you're living in another country, fully immersed in the culture, taking classes. That's good for students who want to be away for a while and want to be kind of have that independence piece. But we also have faculty led trips. Those ones are shorter in length, usually between 2 and 6 weeks at the end of spring semester. And then you're taking a seminar here before you go on that trip. So you get to know the faculty member that you're traveling with, the other students that you're traveling with. It's nice if you're not someone who wants to be away for that long or someone who wants to be by themselves. You want that kind of group aspect. And I think that that's a really good option for a lot of students too, especially like if you're an athlete or you have a really demanding major and you don't want to be away for a super long time, then you can do that faculty led trip option.
Yeah.
So yeah, all three options. You can do one, two, or all three.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's so important to really get yourself out in the world and break out of your shell a little bit. I'm always a huge proponent of study abroad. I think it's definitely become more commonplace, but I hate to admit this, what, like 16 years ago, 17 years ago when I was at BW, I did study abroad. I did a semester in Australia. So speaking of the farthest I could get from home, the most like alienated I could feel being literally by myself, nobody else from BW. But they had me so well prepared. The explorations office at BW does such a great job of just, helping you with any passport issues or, things you need, any transitional things. And I had played basketball at BW, so that was really hard because I had to, I mean, basketball is like a full year, 2 semester sport. So I didn't play my junior year, so I could do study abroad, and I don't regret it 1 minute because it was such an awesome opportunity. But I had teammates that had quit basketball as well the year prior to do study abroad in Australia, and they were just like, "Oh my gosh, like you have to do this. This was the most incredible thing we've ever done." And they left me all of their supplies because everything has different like voltages and plugs. So they
Yeah.
left me alarm clocks and hair dryers and hair straighteners and things like that. But now, as an adult, as we probably both know, like I have a family. I don't know if you have a family, Ricki, but like, could you imagine traveling for weeks at a
You
time
can't
or
just
being,
drop everything as an
yeah,
adult
I mean, I
and
could barely
travel
get
for
away for a
season.
week to go to Disney, let alone going to Australia, which is
Yeah.
literally on the other side of the world. So, I always tell students like you have that inkling at all that you think that study abroad might be something on your path, like do it because you'll never get that type of time or opportunity ever again.
I do always say that during my presentation. I'm like, if students are like, oh, maybe, like sometimes you see like the wheels start turning when you start talking about it, where they're like, oh, I never thought of that as like a possibility for me, or like it's not something that I'm not going to college to do that. Like that's not expressly why I like BWs because of that option. But then you'll see the lights kind of turn on, and then they're like, oh, yeah, you can't, like, I can't leave my job for a semester to go study somewhere else.
Yeah,
So I think it's
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 hard.
great.
But yeah, and it was nice. And again, I don't know if I can't speak to this currently, but when I was at BW, I paid the tuition, whatever I was, typically paying in tuition, all of my scholarships still applied and whatnot. And that just transferred to the partner institution in Australia. I just had to cover the cost of my flight, my passport, and then like any additional costs. But like, even the room and board charge, they set me up with residents there. They gave me money for food. So again, it was really, aside from like maybe 3 grand for the flight and extra stuff, like was not, it was pretty
Yeah, we
incredible.
try to make it really accessible because we don't want to give you all these like big opportunities and then not make them accessible to you. So our Office of Global Explorations that you mentioned, they really try to make it so that students aren't facing a financial hurdle to do that. So we really try to match it the best we can.
Yeah, and I think just it makes you stand out in a way on an app, on a resume or in a job search process when someone takes your resume and they're like, "Oh, like tell me more about Australia or France or Switzerland or Africa or wherever it is that you end up going." Like that's so unique and such a differentiator for students. And again, it'll just force you to grow up and really get out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's talk a little bit about student vibe at BW. So you said, I mean, we've got kids from, a very like regional grasp and some, kids from out of state, mostly that are pursuing maybe the Conservatory of Music, maybe some recruited athletes or whatnot. But you said most of the students stay on campus or right there around campus. Can you tell us a little bit about what there is to do on
Yeah.
campus, maybe club-wise or extracurricularly or socially?
Yeah, we have 28 Division III sports. So if students are interested in continuing a sport, they just have to fill out the recruiting profile and then that gets them in contact with coaches. So I always emphasize that if a student is thinking about continuing a sport. About a quarter of our students do a Division III sport, but we also have intramural sports. So if a student, played a sport in high school, they played volleyball and they want to continue that just like for fun, they don't want to be a student athlete, that's certainly a great option. You also don't have to be super athletically inclined if you want to do the intramural sport option, but we also have over 100 clubs and organizations beyond that. So we have every academic major has their own club, and you can be in that club even if you're not in that major, which is nice. So if you're like a student who's interested in biology, but you took a psychology class in high school and you're like, that's something that I really enjoy, but I don't want it as a career, you could be in our psychology club. We also have fraternity and sorority life on our campus. About 20% of our students do that. We have different service clubs. We have student government, student senate. We have a lot of different honor societies and things like that as well. So kind of dependent on what you want to get involved in, we want to support that. It's super easy to get involved here too. We put out a list every week. Every week, students get an email saying, this is what's going on at BW this weekend. We have, since a lot of our students are here throughout the weekends, they don't go home except for like breaks and stuff like that. We want to make sure that they know everything that is happening on campus. So that list is really helpful, even if it is a little bit overwhelming to see every single club meeting that's happening. I really love that we do that because even as a grad student, I got that email and I would make it through about a third of it. And I was like, okay, there's lots to do. Like there's so much going on, which is
Highlighting
super nice
free
too.
pizza, free food,
Yeah.
free ice
Oh,
cream sundae.
always.
Like always, the free food ones get, or free swag gets kids there every time.
Yeah.
So, do you have any type, you were mentioning just like some of the clubs and organizations and whatnot, but do you have an honors program or an honors college?
Yeah. We have an honors program. Every student who is over a 3.75 GPA at the time that they're applying is invited to apply to the honors program. Some benefits of that are that you'll write a thesis by the time you graduate. So it's not required for our non-honors undergrad, but it's nice that you have that. You also are assigned an honors advisor too. So in addition to having your regular faculty advisor, you'll have an honors advisor that helps you with that thesis process. They sometimes have they might have some additional funding for like going to a conference or something like that. So that's something you can apply for. Then we also have an honors living learning community too, which is nice. You'll take a few honors designated classes in your time at BW. So it's nice to have, that space where it's kind of that living learning community is kind of like-minded individuals who are really committed to studying. And they'll have guest speakers that come and use that kind of common space as well. So that's something that's nice too. Um, but yeah, great options with the honors program. It
There's
is
no
application based, like I
monetary
mentioned.
incentive or like, okay. So basically
No.
the opportunity to live in the honors living learning community. But if you're in honors, could you opt out to be like, oh, I'm going to live in
Yeah.
Davidson, Clemens or
Oh yeah,
something?
absolutely. Absolutely. You could live, a lot of our first years live on like this side of, I'm pointing out the window like you can see. They live
I
in
know where you're
Constitution.
pointing.
Yeah, you do. They live in Constitution and Heritage, even if they're in honors. So that's
Okay.
where most of our first years are living.
Are the on is Carmel still?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, very cool. All right, well, I'm going to ask one more final question. I'm going to be cognizant of your time. I know we chit-chatted a little bit beforehand because we need to catch up, but okay, actually I have two more questions. Do you have any hidden, like we call them hidden scholarships? Like you were saying that when students are applying and they they're automatically considered for certain academic scholarships or merit-based scholarships. Do you have anything additional? So if a student like really loves business or they um maybe are a sibling or something like that. Is there anything additional that they can maybe fill out or inquire about that
Yeah.
isn't automatically considered?
Yeah, so the ones that are, so the merit scholarship is automatically considered. So is our alumni award. So if you have a parent or grandparent that went to BW, graduated from BW, you get that. Sibling award is for current siblings that are enrolled. So if you have an older brother who's a junior and you're a first year, then you would get that. You would both get that for the time that you're enrolled at the same time. We also have our Heritage Award, which is for underrepresented students. And then we have a couple that are more, they're more major based, but those ones every business student is considered. There's no separate application for it.
Okay.
That is awarded by committee in our office. There's also Choose Ohio First, which is state offered statewide. That's for STEM majors. So there are a lot of different opportunities. Those are all listed on our website.
Okay.
Another one that I want to highlight is our visit grant. If any senior class of 2025 visits before December 1st, they'll be automatically get that additional $2,000 scholarship. And that's renewable for all 4 years, just like our merit scholarships are. So in addition to that merit scholarship, you'll also get $2,000 per year, $8,000 in total for the visit grant. So highly recommend coming to visit.
For sure. And we've actually started at Estrella making a list. Like we have a program that we utilize, like a back office program, and we're able to tag schools. And we've been tagging all of the visit grant schools because
Oh, nice.
if students are considering, I mean, that's a huge thing that we always are telling our students, like, go visit. If you can make it happen with your schedule, if it's financially feasible, you need to visit. And students can like go right. And that's how I felt about BW. Like I walked on campus and I'm like, this is my place. This is where I'm
Yeah.
destined to be. But I almost didn't visit. Like I was,
Yeah.
it was April of my senior year before I actually made the visit. And, you just definitely need that. So I think, is there a deadline for that as well? Like, do you need to visit by X date in order to
Yeah. You
receive
need to
that?
visit by December 1st.
By December 1st of senior year? Okay. You might have
Mhm.
just said that, but I didn't catch it.
No worries.
Okay.
I
So no,
always like to emphasize that point because
yeah, I
sometimes
know someone
students visit later
wanders
and
in
they're
in
like, why didn't I
March.
get this? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so nothing additional, like there's nothing like you can go on like the business website or the XYZ website and fill out like a psychology scholarship.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Those are unlocked more as a current student.
Gotcha. Okay,
So
that's
like there
fair.
might be opportunities as you hear from your professor or you hear from, other students like, oh, apply for the scholarship. So most of our first years aren't getting those major specific, but definitely there are ways to kind of help your financial situation throughout your time here.
Okay, perfect. All right, our last question will be, aside from me, who is your most interesting alumnus?
That is a
Not
great
me,
question.
just
Ooh,
lying.
ooh, I know this one.
Okay.
Second only to you. Donna Kelsey graduated with her MBA from BW.
Mama
So that was
Kale.
something that I found out probably at the beginning of this year. And I was super excited because I was approaching graduation with my MBA myself. And I was like, that is so cool. We're going to have the same degree.
That is very cool. Yeah, I saw when BW did an event at the Cavaliers, like they had like a box suite at the Cavs game, and it was like Kelsey night. So they had Travis and Jason Kelsey like courtside, and I don't know if they were the bobblehead or whatever. For those of you that again that are watching this, like the Kelseys are from Cleveland Heights, which is a suburb of Cleveland. Um, but the vice president of advancement at BW has a picture with her like arm around Donna Kelsey. And it was like, whenever like YJ Farrell, which is Yellow Jackets for Life. YJ4L, like Mama Kelsey with her MBA at whatever year it was. I was like, oh, so I'm glad you pointed that out. That's a very relevant one. I thought you were going to say Harrison Dillard, but I was like,
Mm,
I mean, that's
that's
a pretty
important.
awesome one, but
Yeah.
not as relevant this century.
Yes. It's not as front of mind as Donna Kelsey is to me.
Yes. Yeah. For those of you that are Swifties or follow that whole love story, you would probably know who Donna Kelsey is. So, well, thank you, Ricki. It was so nice chatting with you. Thank you for all the insight about Baldwin Wallace. If you're watching this and you want more information, feel free to reach out to Ricki. And if maybe you need assistance with the Conservatory of the Performing Arts or a particular major or from a different region, she will direct you in the right direction. So thank you
Absolutely.
so much. It was so good seeing you.
Of course. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.